This is the date today is 5/26/2014. I'm here with Don Kuhlenschmidt, and we're on his farm, and this is his plane behind us. He made this plane from scratch, finished it in '97, and he flew it for about 10 years, all the way to about 2005 or 6 or 7. This is a handmade airplane, 160 horsepower, air intake, beautiful piece of work. Don, tell us what got you interested in flying.
Airplanes got me interested in flying when I was a little kid. Dad gave me 10 cents a week, and I'd buy a little plastic airplane kit, and I'd build one airplane a week with it, and I did that until I got to where I bought a motorcycle, and I quit building airplanes.
Then you rode a motorcycle around town as a teenager?
Yeah.
And then you went to World War II in what year?
Let's see, I enlisted in 1944, spring of 44, in the Air Force Reserve, and was discharged from the Air Force Reserves. I can't remember whether it was 1945. I'd have to go look that up.
What did you do in the Air Force Reserve? Can you tell us a few things you did? Where you were stationed, the different places?
In the reserves, we had primary, secondary, cross-country, and instrument training spots. Primary was in Louisville, secondary was in Indianapolis, primary was in Louisville, secondary was in Owensboro, cross-country was in Indianapolis, and the instrument training was in Ohio. I can't remember the name of the little town. So that was where I got my training, and I didn't fly anything in the Air Force because General Arnold discharged 5,000 of us during the Battle of the Bulge.
Why'd he discharge you? Because he thought the war was over?
No, he wanted to make Jackie Crocklin the general and enlist 5,000 women and train them to be pilots that we were already trained to do. And when we heard about it, we asked that we be put on flying duty ourselves since we had been taken off. And we wrote home to our folks, and our folks got a hold of congressmen and senators. And when Mr. Arnold's bill came up, it didn't pass. And out of spite, he discharged 5,000 of us during the Battle of the Bulge. That's my history in the Army.
Then, did you or any of those women fly planes to Great Falls, Montana? Some of the women pilots, or any of you, and then the planes that went to Russia from Great Falls to Fairbanks and then to Russia, did you participate in any of that?
No.
What type of planes were you trained in?
Well, we had primary in a J3 Cub, secondary in a Waco UPF-7. Cross country was in a 5-place Waco, and I don't remember what our instrument training plane was. First, we took instrument training in a simulator, and then we had actual flight in a Aeronca. I can't think, best of my remembrance. It's not too good.
Did you ever fly? You never had a flying. You didn't have your flying license when you left the Air Force, or did you?
I did have, yes.
You had. So you had an instrument training too.
Yes, had instrument training.
And instrument training at that time meant at night in clouds and in bad weather.
Yes.
And then after you got out of the war in 45, 46, did you fly immediately when you got out, or did you wait many years?
Well, I didn't wait many years. I flew every chance I got to rent an airplane and go flying. And then when I got the opportunity to buy in with the 2 other guys on the 170, I bought into that and had that now for about 40 years.
Yeah. And the 170's been your workhorse here. You've flown that since the 50s or so.
Yes, all over the continental United States, Mexico, Alaska, beyond the Arctic Circle.
Wow. You and your wife went different trips, and you go everywhere with it.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
We've made about 5 trips to California.
170 is a pretty good workhorse plane. How many horsepower is that plane?
It's got 100 and what the heck is it, 145 horse, I think it is.
Did any of your family work at Chrysler or Republic Air or at LST during World War II? And you grew up right by the Chrysler plant. Can you tell us what happened at Chrysler, or were you able to look inside there at all?
I never was inside of Chrysler, the plant itself. Mostly when I was familiar with it, they were building automobiles. And Serval was building aircraft wings and parts. And of course, what ended up being Whirlpool was making the P-47 out there. Yeah.
None of your family members ever worked at any of those plants, Serval or?
Not during the war.
Yeah. And you remember Hoosier Cardinal that made they made some of the bubble tops for the P-47s, bulletproof, one of the first plastic inventions in Evansville.
Most all the factories around Evansville were involved somewhere or another in world efforts. Now none of those plants are even there today.
Yeah, we were the biggest industrial infrastructure per capita in the world at that time, with 3 big plants. Yes. And you came back and you farmed, and you also flew airplanes. And where else did you work then, Don?
Well, I taught college in the evening, taught refrigeration at college in the evening class, and also taught a class for a while out at Mechanic Arts. And that's when I was working primarily with, I guess, with Snockies, and I don't remember who all I worked for at that time, but I had worked for every plant in town at some point in time or another. So I wasn't a stranger to any of them. The only one was Whirlpool. I only worked with him for 2 weeks.
What do you think the most important thing was in World War II, how we won that war, and what are your remembrances of how important it was for us to win that war?
I can't tell you how important it was, because I don't know what it would have been like had we lost. But it seemed at the time that it was quite imperative that Adolf be put down, because his method of acquiring what he wanted was with guns, and the only way to slow him down was with guns. I wish I could say that same about a lot of the wars we've been into in the last 15, 20 years.
Okay, well, this is Don Kuhlenschmidt. What year were you born in, and what year were you born? What's your birth date, Don?
10/22/22.
22. How old are you right now?
91.
Okay. Central High School graduate.
Central High School graduate.
Grade school, Delaware.
Delaware.
Yeah.
Graduated from Mechanic Arts finally.
And his wife was lived right down the block from him.
Yep.
She went to St. Joe in the city,
right.
in Memorial.
Memorial.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Don.
My pleasure. Well, I was honorably discharged. I can't remember the date. The way I got discharged was, since Arnold couldn't have his 5,000 women making her a general, he in spite discharged 5,000 of us fellows that were already trained, with the promise that we would be redrafted into the infantry. So, representative got a law passed saying that you couldn't draft honorably discharged veterans, of which we were, and we didn't have to go back into the Army. I went to work for Chrysler as a tool designer.
And what did you fix over at Chrysler? What did you do for that plant? As a tool designer, you work on the grousers for the tanks, or what part of the tank?
Well, we worked on all parts of the tank. The tool I remember making was one that burnt a slot in the armor in front so that they could put a machine gun out the front. That's the part that I remember making a tool for that.
Because they repaired the Sherman tanks there, about 6,000 Sherman tanks.
Yeah.
They repaired and refurbished them when they were broken. They didn't make them there, but they
reworked them.
Yes. Huh. That was a busy plant then. Do you remember the tanks going in a circle and like a racetrack there?
Yeah, if you fly over that, you can still see that track down there.
It's still part of it. It's still there.
It's still there, yeah.
Right by the old North High School Mechanical Arts building, about a block towards east of there.
North, yeah, it's north and
East, right by the railroad tracks.
yeah.
And you can still, from the air, still see part of that track. Is that right? And you'd see those tanks, and they really ran them hard to make sure
around that track, yeah.
Did you ever ride the tank around?
No,
Yeah.
they made a lot of noise.
I'll bet they were noisy. They're about 60, 70,000 pounds. Pretty heavy tank. Did you ever see the bullets made? We made 3 billion bullets there. 3 billion. Because you probably had a 45 on your holster at one time. If you ever had 45, they made all the bullets there at Chrysler.
Well, Myrtle never allowed us to carry a gun.
They did. He didn't want you to wear one. He didn't want you. How about, did you see the incendiary bombs they built there?
No, sir, I sure didn't.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you, Don. Appreciate it. This is Don's other plane, 50 years ownership.
40-year ownership.
40-year ownership. Tell us a little bit about this plane.
Cessna 170A, 1949 model, and it has 145 horsepower engine, standard prop, and it carries 4 passengers. You can run it about 4 hours on the tank of gas. Generally, you only want to run it about 2. That's time to get your bottom rested anyway. But it's been all over the countryside, all over the United States. We've had it into Mexico. We've had it into Alaska. And it's just been a great airplane. And now it's just been relicensed, and we're putting it back together again, getting it ready to go flying.
What's it made of? What are the wings made of in the body?
Aluminum.
All aluminum.
All aluminum.
Were Cessnas popular after the war, about 48?
Yes, Cessna was very popular after. In 49 with this model. This was the first model that they made that was all metal. And it was a very popular metal, and they continued to make them for a number of years. First the A model and then the B model. I don't know when they quit, but it was in the late 50s, I think, when they quit making this. 70. This is a 49 model.
Have you had a lot of upkeep with this?
No, very minimal.
Minimal upkeep.
Yeah.
The engine, not a lot of upkeep. Looks like a 6-cylinder engine.
It's the second engine in it.
I see.
You can generally get about 3,000 hours out of an engine, so they last quite a while.
How many hours you have total in flying, Don?
I don't know, over 2,000. Well over 2,000. I've never looked it up. I didn't even log them after they closed us down, and I would go out and rent a plane once a week or something like that. I didn't bother to log them, and I haven't bothered to log this one since my partner died. No need to. I don't care how many hours it got.
Yeah, pretty reliable plane. If you thought of about 100 planes you could have, this would be in the top 10 for reliability.
Oh yes, be right at the very top.
No safety problems with it.
None. All these years, you know.
And you land it right here on your land here. You just take off right here by our barn here.
Takes off on that green over there. You
That
see?
green over there that needs to be cut, and in the distance there, that's your runway.
Yeah.
How long's the runway there, Don?
Half a mile.
Half a mile runway, and you can get either plane up.
Yeah, 80 foot wide.
80 foot wide.
And this is the taxiway out to the runway.
Taxi where the grass is high here. Yeah.
Yeah. Time to mow it.
And that isn't 80 feet wide, the taxiway, is it? Or is it 80 feet? Yeah, 40 feet. Yeah. Is it pretty bumpy out there when you land it, Don, or not too bad?
No, it's not too bad. I wish I had a big roller to roll it down and take the bumps out, you know, like the moles make and that sort of thing. But it's not bad.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Don. This is the side of his airplane. This is the back seat. There's the tail. Look at the back seat. Not a lot of room, but enough for 4 passengers. This served Don for over 40 years, and Margaret. They had a lot of good times with this plane.